Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat podcast. Of course, the game has just finished. Sheffield United 0, Tottenham Hotspur 3. Spurs have finished 5th in this season's Premier League. Manchester City have been crowned champions. Our North London rivals, Arsenal, have finished in 2nd spot. Luton, Burnley and Sheffield United have all been relegated. Please do get involved. Let us know where you are watching from around the world, and please do let us know your thoughts on today's game and, of course, our season, our first under boss and Postecoglou. As per usual, I've got 3 very special guests with me to talk about today's game, review the season, and also give their feedback on their player of the season. Firstly, we've got actor Ricky Norwood back with us. Ricky, how are you?
How are you doing, Chris? How are you doing, gents? How are you doing, viewers and listeners? How are you doing? Well done. We survived. We done it. We got through, all right? With the highs and the lows and the roller coaster of Tottenham life, we done it. We got to the last game of the season. We had a good display. We got a great 3 goals, 3 points on the board. We've secured Europa League football, and we've had a significant improvement on last year. And we've got green shoots, and we've got a direction of where we're going next. I mean, happy bloody well days. You done it. You done it. Even in the last couple of weeks, who knew if we was going to get to this point right now, where we can smile, where we can enjoy the summer, where we can reflect, where we can learn, where we can figure out where we're going next. And oh my gosh, we done it. Good performance, boys. I am buzzing, and I'm happy to be here on the last after game podcast of the season with these beautiful gentlemen. So let's go get it, man. Let's go get it.
We've also got back with us Richard Whitehead, MBE, of course, gold medalist, world record holder, the man that brings the trophies to this channel. Richard, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, really good, thanks. I'm obviously back on the siders, so it's been a bit of a stressful season. But yeah, lots of takings from this year for sure. Not just with the men's team, across under 21s and women's teams as well. I think a lot to be learnt about that mentality moving forwards. Me and you, Chris, have talked about that, about mentality and how the club needs to move forwards. And I think, as the manager says, I think we have a part to play in that as well, which is great. So it'd be great to talk about that at some point as well.
Absolutely, we'll cover it all on today's podcast. I think it's great how I just asked how you are, and you cannot wait to talk about the football, the pair of you. Back with us also is channel regular Craig Dearman. Over 100 podcasts Craig's been on during the last couple of years. Craig, how are you?
I'm all right, yeah. Pleased to have made it to the end of the season, like Ricky says. It's been a bit of a slug these last few months, I must admit. But we made it. We got Europa League. Comfortably in 5th in the end. Well, I'm going to say comfortably. We weren't too worried about today, were we? Really? We probably were. But yeah, and do you know what? We won the same amount of trophies this season as Arsenal. So it's all good. It's all good.
I did wonder when that was coming. The Spurs fans in the away end today, they did sing a lot about Arsenal today and their misfortune. But as I said at the start of the show, Manchester City are champions again, 4 years on the trot. They are just sensational, a sensational football club, winning trophy after trophy. So today's result, Sheffield United 0, Tottenham Hotspur 3. Dejan Kulusevski opened the scoring after 14 minutes. Pedro Porro made it 2 after 59 minutes. And Dejan Kulusevski completing his brace after 65 minutes. As I said, Spurs have finished 5th in the league table. We've played 38. We've got a goal difference of plus 13. We have finished the season on 66 points. It is a shame that we just could not quite get that top 4 finish and play Champions League, but we will play Europa League football next season. Now, today's results in the Premier League: Arsenal 2, Everton 1, Brentford 2, Newcastle 4, Brighton 0, Manchester United 2, Burnley 1, Nottingham Forest 2, Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 1, Crystal Palace beating Aston Villa, who have just qualified for the Champions League. They beat them 5-0. Oliver Glasner has done a fantastic job since taking over at Selhurst Park. Liverpool 2, Wolves 0. Jurgen Klopp leaves the Premier League with a win at Anfield. Luton 2, Fulham 4, Manchester City 3, West Ham 1. And as I mentioned, Sheffield United 0, Tottenham 3. Now, the stats from today's game, Sheffield United with only 23.9% of the ball to Tottenham's 76.1%. Shots, Sheffield United had 6 to Tottenham's 18. Shots on target, Sheffield United 1 to Tottenham's 9. Shots off target, Sheffield United 3, Spurs 3. Block shots, Sheffield United 2 to Tottenham 6. Touches in the opposition box, Sheffield United 9 to Tottenham's 42. Goalkeeper saves, Sheffield United 6, Spurs 1. Aerial duels 1, Sheffield United 8, Spurs 11. Fouls, Sheffield United 11, Spurs 9. Corners, Sheffield United 2, Tottenham 6. Ricky, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's win.
Oh, mate, I thought it was a good game. I think, those first 15 minutes or so, Sheffield United, they definitely came with the shackles off, and they wanted to send their home fans home a little bit happier. And they had a few moments. But overall, I thought it was a professional, patient display. I thought that when we did turn the knobs up and we did go into kind of fifth gear a little bit, you could see the quality of our play there. There was a loads of good performances all over the pitch. But I got to send a big shout out again to Dragusin. I thought he was solid as a rock back there. And it was nice to see his turn of pace and his calmness, assuredness, composure on the ball, and how that back four can work as a unit. First clean sheet for a long time, and a convincing win. And we could have scored more. There was a couple of chances in that first half where we could have scored more. Maddison had a go. There was a couple of ricochets at one point. Oh, my gosh. But in the second half, once we got the second goal, we just went into cruise control for me. We just went into everybody was calm and we played our football, and we got the 3 points, and I'm a happy guy, bruv. So I think overall we still made it hard for ourselves. And I think on reflection of the whole season, I think we all know, especially when Ange took over, how many problems there were at his club. On the field, off the field, around the field, do you know what I mean? In the canteen, the lot. Wherever you look, there was problems. And Ange came in and he's done a great job to take away a significant chunk of those problems. But we know there's still a long way to go. And we know that there's still problems to fix. And we know that there's areas across the pitch and throughout the club that need to change so that we can carry on building on this and keep on moving in the right direction. I'm super excited for when we start the season again next year, and I'm super excited about the direction that we're going in and the way that we're doing it. So yeah, overall, a really good game. I was happy to have a complete performance today from top to bottom, with a few scares because we are Tottenham.
Ricky, Richard said he's got the ciders out. I know when we finish a season like this with a win, you've normally got the champagne out. You got the champagne out today?
I haven't. I mean, I've got a beer in the fridge. I might grab that halfway through, but I'm on like one of those Purdies today, so no champagne as yet.
Well, I must say it's a glorious sunny day here in Sheffield today. It's put everyone in such a good mood, and of course, when Tottenham win away as well. And I think you're completely right, and I completely agree. If you said to any Spurs fan at the start of the season that we would finish fifth, with Harry Kane leaving as well, I think it would have gone down as a successful season. I think that a lot of people would have taken that. Richard, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's win.
Totally agree with what Ricky was saying there. I think when you look at the teams when we're playing away, they still kind of come on us really hard. I think Sheffield United were not expected to win today, and I don't think they expected to win, but they wanted to score and they wanted to kind of put a dent in the defence. I think the defence looked stronger with the kind of new shape as well. I've noticed like a new shape, and how Van der Ven does drop in there definitely helps cover. He's more defensively minded, doesn't overcommit on that left-hand side. Obviously, we don't want to see him there long term, but I think it's worked over the last couple of weeks. Game itself, lots of opportunities. when I think about obviously having that striker, that kind of goal scorer, having that vocal point up front would definitely create more scoring opportunities, and conversion rate will be a lot higher. And I'm just so pleased that Kulusevski got a couple today, because I think he's been really struggling with the confidence in front of goal, and also the kind of goals he scored today were slightly different on that left hand side as well, through the centre. And I think for me it showed that Ange let the shackles off a couple of the players, kind of gave them a little bit of a license to kind of roam, but also said, right, so obviously next year things need to improve, but I want to start seeing that on the field of play. I think that's why you saw that today. Clean sheet was massive for us today. I think it takes away that voodoo that every team's going to score against us. We should beat teams like Sheffield United, but any team that's putting pressure on you, especially if you're high up on that fast break, they're going to get chances against us. Still, I still think we need to have maybe a little bit of a plan B when we play, but very pleased with today. And it's great for those travelling fans as well to be coming, going home with a smile on their face, because I know what you're like, Chris. I know it's been a tough couple of away days, like Newcastle and Liverpool and Man City, and I know it's been tough.
Rich, let's stay with you a second, because when you think of the last 7 Premier League games of the season, including today, 5 defeats, 2 wins, and when you see that Aston Villa were thrashed at Crystal Palace today,
Nailed, yeah.
It just seems, part of me, I completely agree with what Ricky said in, at the start of the season. I think that most people would have taken 5th, certainly with Harry Kane leaving and the problems that Ange Postecoglou has had during this season, and I get all of the progression. But should it have been more? Could it have been more? The fact that, Villa have been so inconsistent, just another couple of points, we'd be playing Champions League next year.
Yeah, for sure. And also, you look at those games that we'd not turned up. The Fulham game, just really disappointing. And from then on, really, I think when you look at where the club is, I think 5th is a true reflection. And obviously, that over those 38 games, you normally get a true reflection on you, the position you finish. And I think it is 5th is where we deserve to be. I think Champions League this season wouldn't be a true reflection where we are. And also, I think it gives us a great opportunity to be back in Europe in a tournament where we can try some things. And also, obviously, stronger squad, deeper squad, in all the positions that can have a really good go in the league as well as in the cups. We know it's really important to win something, get something over the line. That first trophy really does create a buzz in the club. We haven't had that this year, and I think from what I hear and what I see, I think not just the first team but the other squads as well. It's been there's been a lot of pressure there, and I think what we need to do is with the professional athletes, the professional footballers, when they go on that field of play, we need to 100% back them. We need to give them that license, but also they need to deliver on our part. And I think that's what Ange is now starting to say, that look, we're going to get the players, we've got the style of play, we're going to get the mentality back, and now it's going to be time to deliver. 5th is just a starting point for us.
What's it like having all them trophies, Rich?
Those Guinness World Records. No, and the thing is, for those that don't understand, but as a professional athlete, confidence is key. Like confidence, attitude over ability is really key as well. You need to have the right mentality, the right attitude, the killer instinct, the killing teams off. When you're not playing well, you're still winning. That's the thing that we need to start getting. This season I've noticed we've thrown too many games away or not really turned up. I can tell how we're going to play in the tunnel. This season I've watched the teams as they're coming in the tunnel. You can see the stress, the anxiety on the players. For me, a winning mentality in the squad, that needs to change. We need to have some real characters, some winners in the squad. We've got leaders now. I think we've got the leaders, which we didn't have last season. We've got youth. We've got some speed. We need to work on that finishing, but we need some leaders. We need to incorporate some real leaders within the squad to take us forward.
I thought a nice moment actually at the end of the game. A number of Spurs fans sung Ange Postecoglou's name, just to really say to him that the fans are really behind him, for next season, and hopefully it's another very big and good summer in the window for Tottenham. Craig, let's come to you. And by the way, I can't get used to this format of me being on the right-hand side, you being on the left. I keep looking up thinking I've really changed.
It's all that weight you've lost. It's all that weight you've lost, mate.
Craig, your thoughts on today's game?
Yeah, much the same as the other guys. To be honest, I thought it did seem like an end-of-season game where there wasn't much riding on it. It wasn't particularly exciting that first half or much of the game. It was quite slow in places. I did worry for a bit that we were too slow in that first half in doing everything. I say it wasn't a particularly exciting game. I didn't think till the second half. There wasn't much of a crowd there, was there? I mean, there was a lot of empty seats knocking about there, so people obviously hadn't bothered to turn up. I was never in any doubt that we were going to win that game. I know we all joked on the last pod about, the possibility of the Spurs blowing it, but I didn't actually get that impression. I thought we would get over the line, and we did. I thought as soon as we got one, I didn't think they were getting back into it. They give us a couple of scares, but not too much. And like I say, once we got our noses in front, it was kind of plain sailing for me anyway. I wasn't worried at all, to be fair. So just a professional end of season game, got the job done, secured 5th Europa League. I think it's going to be good to look forward to that. Now, obviously, there's no secret. I wanted Champions League. I wanted to beat City in the week. I don't think we can turn around and say that today's events would have panned out had we beaten City. I think it would have been a different result at Crystal Palace. Perhaps not 5. I mean, it still would have been a tough game for him because Palace have been doing well and Villa, as you said, have been so inconsistent. But would have been interesting going in that final game with a chance at getting it and seeing what would have happened. But Europa League is probably our level at the moment. That's not to say I wouldn't have taken Champions League. 100% would have done. But I think we can have a real crack at it next season, and it is progression. I think we're still going to be able to attract the players that Ange wants to the club. I think we're 2 or 3 players away from really pushing to that next level. I don't think for challenging for the title. I think that might be a step too far. Looking how far ahead City are, that's 25 points. That's what, 8 wins, something like that, 7, 8 wins. So we've got to turn that around. I know there are certain games this season where we should have won. We all know what those games were. It's just those small moments, isn't it? When you look at those 2 points, you can think back. Ignore the City game, but you can think back. The Wolves away game, the Villa game when we dominated, the West Ham game when we dominated. You think at the time you're disappointed, but you don't think that might necessarily affect the points at the end of the season like that. But it clearly does, doesn't it? And those are the type of games we've just got to close out next season as we're growing as a squad, growing as a team. Get the dead wood out, get the players out that you don't want in the summer, and get them in. Sounds like Fabrizio Romano was saying it's going to be a very busy summer transfer window at Tottenham, so it'll be very interesting over the summer. Sit back, relax, and hopefully watch us get a few players in, and safe in the knowledge that we're back in Europe. So it's all good, sun's shining. What's not to like?
Ricky, let me come on to you on that point about Europa League, because of course Spurs have secured a Europa League spot for next season. Our European runs, of course, when we're in the Champions League, I always feel like we take it really, really seriously. But when we've played in the Europa League or the Europa Conference League, a number of opportunities have been given to fringe players or youth players, and I'm all for giving the youth players a chance. What I really wanted to ask the 3 of you to get your opinion on, do you think Ange Postecoglou will take a competition like the Europa League seriously to go all out to try and win it?
I mean, from every single thing that we've heard him say since he's got here, he is a winner and he is about winning, and he sees success as winning the trophy. So I believe that now he goes into his second season with a squad of players, the ones that stick around will know his system, will be able to kind of help the new boys that come in as well adapt to the system even quicker, because there's already a senior group that already know what it's about and would know what is being demanded on Ange and on the boys. So I believe that Ange will go out full-heartedly, full throttle to go and win every single competition that we're in, including the Premier League, regardless of whether it's 25 points or not, or whether it's unlikely or not, you know, whether it's delusional to think that, all right, we can go and challenge for the Premier League. Well, Ange doesn't think that way. And to tell you the truth, I'm that guy. I'm happy to be delusional because I love my team. And at the beginning of the season, every single season, I want my team to win the Premier League. I want us to go for it. Of course I do. So, do you know what I mean? You know, so I think that that's what he's going to do. I think that he's building a squad so that he can challenge on all fronts. And it's not about fringe players. You've got to think about these players that are going to be coming in. They're going to be new players. Some of these players are going to need an opportunity. Some of them are going to, they're going to have to kind of earn their spots and earn their stripes every single time they play, because they want to be in the first team 11, you know, first choice 11, first names on the team sheet when it comes down to picking an 11 that's going to go out there against the biggest sides and against the biggest challenges. So it's not about fringe players. It's about there has to be a rotation. We've seen that this season. There has to have people that come in that not only challenge for a place, but push the people that are in that position already. Push the players that are there that think that they're nailed on, to push them to kind of go, all right, I better stay on my toes the whole season every time that I step onto the field. And by doing that and by challenging each other and by having a squad that is capable of a rotation, but of challenging each other, that pushes everything, and that makes everything great for us fans, first and foremost, but it leads to success. It takes a squad. It's not going to be just an 11 set of players. It's going to take a squad for one reason or another, you know. So yes, the answer is I do believe that Andrew go out there for the win, and I do believe that he will take it ultra serious.
Chris, boys, I think that there's definitely been a change coach-wise that has given me the confidence that we can go deeper within competitions. I think what I saw with the previous managers is they were very one-dimensional, very kind of, if the fans didn't like it, that's it, it's going that way. Well, I can see as a manager that he's actually listening, he's actually and people are being heard. But I also think that he knows the problems that's at the club, where we'd have certain players that have been around the club for a long time, they've got records where they haven't won against the big six teams, and they're still playing in the first team. Again, no leadership, no winning mentality. For me, I think it's really important that we have a manager that learns from this season, that learned from that first game in the cup competition where we lost to Fulham. And he said that, this result's on me. I really like that. I like the ownership. Like, Ange owns like defeats. It's not over the top with the celebration, but owns them. And I think that's what really gives me confidence moving forwards. I think maybe he needs to put some other like bolt-ons within his team to make us stronger in certain parts of our play, like free kicks, defending free kicks. I think the keeper as well. I think we need to really work on our young keeper to be stronger and to be. And I've seen that over the last couple of weeks where he's more dominant, and the other players are helping him kind of enforce his box. So what I'm seeing is that we're seeing progression, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time for sure.
Can I just say there has been so many comments stating or asking, am I driving? I'm in the car, but of course I'm not driving while I'm recording this podcast. I'm actually in the back seat, so don't worry about that. Craig, let's come to you on the same point about the Europa League, because when we've seen other managers at the football club in previous years, and we've been in these types of competitions, Europa League or Europa Conference League, we haven't seemed to have taken it that seriously. And you know, the League Cup, we haven't won for 16 years. We haven't won an FA Cup since 1991. You know, how many times have we spoken about this, about the lack of trophies at the club? What do you think will happen next year in terms of cup competitions? Do you think we will go all out? Do you think Andrew's, learned something about how we approach these cup competitions?
You would hope so. You would hope so because of the backlash about the 10 changes at Fulham. And obviously we drew, we put out a strong team against Burnley and then put a strong team out against City, but obviously that was always going to be a tough ask. I want to see us put out competitive teams in all the cup competitions next season and give the Europa League a real crack. Because, as we said, the format slightly changed in that the Champions League teams don't drop down into it next season. So you kind of know who you're going to be playing in it. I just think it's a real chance for us to progress in Europe and go on a real run. By all means, blood some youngsters, make some changes, give some squad players some games, but still stick to the core. I want to see us stick to the core team and then bringing these players around them, because you see other teams do it, but you can't keep making 10 changes, for a European game, because the European teams are a different kettle of fish to the Premier League teams. People think, we're just going to some random team in Portugal. It's going to be an easy win. We found out that Paços de Ferreira was a pretty tough team. Perhaps perhaps our players just weren't that interested. We've had it on here. We've been on here with the Mura game. I could go on. I just want to see us compete, Chris. We have had games where they've put out a decent Spurs lineup, but they haven't turned up and they haven't performed. And I don't need to tell you that. You've been to all those European games. So just want to see us actually give it a go, and not just Europa League. I want to see us give the domestic cups a go as well, a proper go, because 41 games in the season, that's terrible, isn't it? That's only one game more than the minimum amount you could play. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to being back in Europe and having some of those European nights, and hopefully be able to get to a few of the games. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Just thought I'd mention as well, in case any of the viewers or listeners are not familiar with the new format of the Europa League and the Champions League next year, we actually play 8 group stage games, 4 at home and 4 away, and they are against 8 different teams. So we don't play the same team home and away, so they are against 8 different teams. So it should be an interesting new format for next season. Ricky, let's come to you. Let's talk about Tottenham's starting 11 today against Sheffield United. Vicario, Porro, Romero, Dragushin, Van der Ven, Sarr, Bentancur, Maddison, Johnson, Son and Kulusevski. Subs today: Austin, Whiteman, Royale, Skip, Højbjerg, Donnelly, Brian Hill, Moore and Scarlett. A couple of the development players on the bench again, and Moore getting some more game time. Of course, he made his debut at the age of 16 the other night against Manchester City. Kulusevski in a central role today. What did you make of Kulusevski, and what did you make of the starting 11 today, Rick?
You know how I feel about Kulusevski in the 10. I've said it many a time when we discuss his best position. I always think that it's that number 10 stroke 8, second 8 type of role. I thought it was Kulu back to his best today. He was fighting, he was dominant, he was battling, he got a goal today. He was on the left side, he was on the right side, he was in the center. He really wanted to make sure that he had an impact on today's game, and I think that was almost like a sign to all of us, fans and supporters, to kind of go, I am still here. I'm sorry for the last couple of games, but I am still here, sort of thing. And that's what happens with a dip. All players will go through it, and all teams will go through it at some stage. It's how you get yourself out. It's how you work. It's how you keep your head. It's how you keep your heart, and how you kind of keep pushing forward. And luckily enough, we got to see a performance like that from Kulu. I thought it was a fantastic performance from him today. He could have got a couple of goals. Yeah. As Miss Bunny, was it Miss? Who was it? No, that's Miss Bunny there. So anyway, I can't remember what the last comment. The name switched, but he said he could have had an hat trick today, and he could have done. So I was really happy to see him in that role. I felt it was a better fit. I felt we was a little bit more dangerous, especially with that kind of false 9 going on. It allowed Maddison to do his thing, have freedom to kind of drift as well, drop back. So, the lineup today, I thought it was a good one. It was good again to go again with the same kind of setup. It was good to see Van der Ven at left back again. It just and Dragoshin in there. It just gave us a bit more balance. It made us solid. And today we defended corners and free kicks pretty okay. I mean, we came away with a clean sheet, so we done all right with them. So it was good to see them solid. And it was good to see the front three, all four, determined to score today, determined to play well, determined to kind of, put a stamp on today. So there was still a few problems. I felt that we were almost like too slow at times, like Craig was saying. But as soon as we was patient, and as soon as we started to turn the knobs, I felt that we was on our way.
Ricky, Andrew said a lot throughout this season that we need to really improve in that final third. There is so much growth in that area, which I completely agree with. We've seen that all season as well. Do you think that he will pursue with some of these players, or is it a case of he will go out in the transfer window and buy better players?
No, I think it's about improvement, Chris. I think he's had a clear vision, and some of us fans, as we go along the season, we kind of catch up to where he is. But I think he's had a clear vision from the beginning of how many transfer windows it's going to take. And I think that every single transfer window gives him an opportunity to improve. It's not so much about a squad player. It's about improving on the first 11 and creating squad competition, creating squad depth through competition with each other. So the way that I see it, he picks players not just on technical ability or on their speed or on their, or on how many goals they score this season. He also picks them on their character, and he also picks them on their mentality to go out there and win. And not only win, but to change, this kind of energy that we have around us, Tottenham, that we don't win. That we can't get over the line. So he wants characters in there. He wants people with the right mentality and a winning mentality to come in and to take that on, but to make it non-existent. Do you know what I mean? To make it a thing of the past, and to turn this side into a successful winning side. So he's going to go for winners, Chris. And it doesn't matter about the price tag. It doesn't matter where they're from. Again, it's all of the attributes that he's looking for, but it's mostly that mentality and that integrity, and that character from a player. And so that's what I'm expecting to see come through the door. And if that comes through the door, that jumps us up another 5-10 levels. Do you know what I mean?
Rich, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the starting 11 that Ange Postecoglou picked against Sheffield.
Yeah, I thought the start 11. It flows. I don't know.
Chris is now glitching in the car, viewers and listeners, if you can't. But I think Rich, you knew what he was saying.
A number of the comments live on YouTube at the moment are saying that it's only Sheffield United.
Yeah, well, obviously, Aston Villa only had Crystal Palace, so and what happened to them? I think you've got to take every game as it comes, and I think that's really important. It's important you always play the team that's in front of you, not on past results or past form, because that's how we've got tripped up in the past. Starting lineup for me, I think is this game was really important moving forwards. If we'd have won 1-0, or it would have been like 3-2, and we were letting in goals left, right, and centre. But I think we come out of the game with so many positives, and that momentum into the new season is really important. Not only to attract the players we want, to demonstrate the style of football, but also to really galvanise the team and those players that maybe their form's dipped over the last 5 or 6 weeks, to kind of get them back on track. And I think that was really important. There's still some areas where I think some players have come back from injury and not really kind of hit the same levels as before. But the starting lineup for me was about the manager going, actually, we know it's going to be a physical battle in Sheffield, and we know we're going to have a lot of the ball. So how are we going to utilise the areas that we're going to have the ball and then create the opportunity for the front line? And Kulusevski hasn't had the greatest last month, but he showed today the attributes that he's got, and he actually showed that he's not just one-footed as well. He's utilising both feet, coming inside, drifting on both wings as well. I quite like that with Kulusevski. He's not kind of restricted to one side, which I think sometimes he is when he plays out on that right. The starting lineup for me, obviously, with a back four, really kind of that was going to happen anyway. I think obviously with Van de Ven having such a good game the week before in that left back role, kind of really did kind of make it kind of his position until obviously the end of the season, and then I think we'll get somebody else into kind of fill that void. I think Johnson as well, he still needs to do some real good work on his finishing. I think for me, price tag wise has been a bit heavy on his head, I think, and I think what needs to be done over the summer is really building that lad's confidence, working really hard in training, and hopefully next year we have a different kind of better Brandon Johnson that's getting those 10, 15 goals a season, because that's what we need from those individuals that are playing in that front three.
Craig, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on the starting 11. And I also wanted to ask about Mickey Van de Ven playing at left back, because wherever he seems to play, Mickey Van de Ven, he does a solid job, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, wasn't a surprise with the starting 11. I was quite happy with it, to be honest with you. Mickey Van de Ven just looks certainly more solid at left back than Emerson Royale or Oliver Skipp. I just think the whole back four looked more solid with him in there with those three defenders. And to be honest, not just Van de Ven, I think Dragushin, he made a couple of errors today, but on the whole, I think he's a bit of a domineering, commanding presence in that back line. So regardless of who he plays with, I'm quite confident. Wasn't entirely convinced of him the first game he played, but obviously it was early days then for him. But he's really shown what he's all about. The strength of the lad is unbelievable. People just bounce off him. And there was a couple of occasions where I know we're talking about Van de Ven, but Dragushin, he pushed somebody out of the way of Vicario, and the fella must have got about 10 foot away from him when he pushed him. So must be really difficult to play against him, and he's not slow himself, to be honest. But yeah, Van de Ven, left back, just a bit more solid. He obviously doesn't get forward as much as a doggy, but it's not his natural position, and it does. You do need a different fitness level to play there. As we said during the week, there were times when he had his hands on his knees after about half an hour, just really blowing. So he's being asked to do a job that he's not necessarily done before, certainly not played in his system before, and the demands of it. So sensational athlete, signing of the season for me. And I know we'll probably come on to it later, but he is definitely the player of the season for me. A great player, a great acquisition, and I think we need to almost build the team around him as much as anybody else.
Craig, let's stick with you, because let's talk about the match instance. After 3 minutes, Sheffield United had a chance. Ball flicked on, their player shot over the bar. 4 minutes later, they had a tame free kick at Vicario. And then in the 11th minute, ball crossed to the back post, and then their player actually hit the post. Were you surprised by that start? Because I must say, apart from those chances at the start of the game, I felt that Sheffield United were pretty poor, certainly in front of goal. You can certainly see why they're in the position, where they are. No disrespect to them, but at the back they're conceding over 100 goals in the Premier League. They can't seem to score in front of goal when they've had opportunities. But are you worried from a Tottenham point of view? Because when you look at the defensive line that we have, there's real quality there, but we are still letting teams like this having chance after chance.
Yeah, indeed. We did start slow, like we've done on a few games this season, and on the whole, the first half was slower than the second half. It does worry me a bit. perhaps this system is just so demanding that players can't play it for 90 minutes. I don't know. That could be an issue, but on the whole, you say we blame in the defence. It might not be just the defence. It's the midfield perhaps not doing their jobs properly as well, and not stopping the passes coming through and not being in the right positions. So I think there's work to do throughout this entire squad, to be honest, not just the defence. We want to see decent reinforcements for every position. You want like City, you want to get like City, they're the benchmark. You want 2 decent players in every position at least. And like people saying Kulusevski had a good game today. Yeah, he did. He had a really good game today, but it was against Sheffield United with all due respect. He did play well through the middle, but he's not the answer, is he? It was just a bridge to get us through today. He'd done his job. He'd done it very well. But all today was just all about getting over the line and then looking to build in the summer. Because, like you say, that defence needs work, the front line needs work, and the midfield needs work. And it will be very interesting, as I say, to see what players they get in, because it's quite. I would even add a backup goalkeeper to that, unless they see Brandon Austin as the backup eventually to Vicario. And we might see Fraser Forster go. I don't know when his contract expires. I can't remember whether it's this summer or next summer. I think it was a 2-year deal for him, and I think he's been here 2 years, so I think it expires this summer. I might be wrong, but work to be done, definitely. And it does. We're not looking as susceptible to set pieces. That's what I would say, but conceding chances. But look, let's not forget we got a clean sheet today. You know, it's the first clean sheet in God knows how long. So, you know, little wins, and plenty to build on.
Absolutely, well said. Ricky, let's come to you. After 14 minutes, of course, Spurs took the lead. Our first real chance. Kulusevski finished, a great finish from him. Mickey van der Ven won the ball back, give it to Son. Son assisted Kulusevski. A great finish, wasn't it?
It was like a snooker shot, mate. You know, it was like a Ronnie O'Sullivan, super kind of angled, you know, right on the button, and it even, you know, trickled over the line, you know what I mean? Just dropped into the pocket. Lovely goal, bro. It was a classy goal, and it was good to see. You know, as soon as we took the lead there, that's when we started to kind of take control of that game. It was after that. So it was a well-worked goal from the team, from back to front, and, you know, Kulu doing the Ronnie O'Sullivan, it was gorgeous, my friend.
Rich, let's come to you. After 20 minutes, Kulusevski had another shot, this time at the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper saved. After 29 minutes, Spurs hit the post. Heung-min Son then followed up, shot at the goalkeeper, saved. After 33 minutes, Spurs had another chance. Pedro Porro shooting from 20 yards. Goalkeeper saved it. Pedro Porro, I know we'll come on to his goal, but he's got a fantastic shot on him. Should he shoot more?
Has he had the most shots in the league? I think there's some kind of figures that say, I'm sure he's had the most shots of any player. I'm not sure shoot more. I think it's more the accuracy, because obviously when he did score, it was like a rocket. He's got the appetite to score for sure, and he loves scoring. You can tell. You need to keep that fire in those players' bellies, but also needs to be a little bit more structured as well, because we don't want just random shots all over the place. I think one thing that
don't we though, because a lot of Spurs players this season, I feel, have been really criticised that we don't shoot enough.
It's not him. It's not him though. Is that plenty? Is it, mate? Is that plenty? Plenty. Like when I watched Burnley the other week, I was like, "Why are you shooting from there?" I'm like, "Come on!" Like looking, head up, like look for one of your teammates, kind of play that decisive pass, not just shoot from anywhere. For me, he's definitely like grown into that position. And with obviously the goals he scored this year, he's going to have the confidence going into next year. But I still think that other players need to take responsibility with how they play, and we've still not utilised Maddison and Maddison's effect from the dead ball. Had hardly any opportunities for him to score from a dead ball situation. I was expecting him to bring 5 to 10 goals from those like dead ball situations. He's had none, which has been frustrating. Penalties. Talk to me about the reason why we've not had penalties this year. Is it 2? 2 all year. Mate, 2 penalties all year. What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? Like that blows my mind, that does. But going back to Porro, I think he's a player that, because he's so young as well, he's got the energy, he's got the engine, worked hard on his discipline, and that position's his own. But like Craig said earlier, we need to have competition in all those places.
Craig, let's come to you. Literally after Pedro Porro had that shot, Sheffield United had another chance through on goal, and they put it wide. What do you make of Sheffield United as a team today? Do you can you see the reason why they have been relegated?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. The chances are going for. I mean, a better team would be at least making the goalkeeper work and putting a couple of those away. You could see where the frailties were. They just looked like a defeated team. Look, the fact the crowd didn't even turn up on the last day in the Premiership. I mean, there's no guarantees they're going to bounce straight back. I would have thought there would have been a full house today, but the crowd have seen 3 wins there all season, the lowest ever. So they've probably just had enough. And if we had lost to them today, that would have been, again, with all due respect to Sheffield United, that would have been embarrassing for us. So you can see where the frailties were. Didn't look like a team that knew what they were doing half the time, to be honest with you. And he's got a job on his hands, Wilder, to get them back in the Premiership. I don't really know what else to say about him. It was just a poor football team. But what I will say is the goalkeeper had an absolute stormer today. He made some sensational saves. So the one from Maddison in the first half, the one from Son, to name a couple, he really kept the score down, if I'm honest. So perhaps they should be buying him a beer tonight, because it could have been quite embarrassing for him.
Craig, let's stay with you, because after 38 minutes, a great run from Radu Dragushin down the left wing. He crossed in and then the ball was cleared. How much game time do you think that Radu Dragushin will get next season?
I would hope he gets a fair amount. I mean, I saw a comment there. Somebody said they heard rumours that he wants out. I did read that. If he's not guaranteed game time, I'm not sure any manager would guarantee any player anything, to be honest with you. That's not how our squad works. But he will be looking, obviously, to play a bit more next season. But look, we should have the amount of games where we can come in and play. We're going to be playing twice a week, a lot of the week, certainly from September onwards. With the 2 international breaks, that set of fixtures between September and December is usually quite congested anyway, isn't it? So I think he'll be looking to get a fair bit of playing time. There's going to be injuries again, like always. So I think he's going to be a very important player next season. Actually, Dragushin at the back there, swapping in and out. Mickey prone to the odd injury with his hamstring. We know about that. And when he was where he was previously, he had issues with his hamstring. I mean, hopefully he doesn't. But you've only got to see what happened in the Chelsea game to see how quickly things fall apart. And we obviously didn't have him then, and we lumbered with, not lumbered, but we have to play Emerson Royale and Ben Davies in unnatural positions, and you're playing 4 fullbacks across the back 4. So I expect him to get a lot more game time really next season. But I still think there's an argument to getting another centre back this summer, whether they see Ashley Phillips or Dorrington, I don't know. Who knows? But you do need another centre back, one that's going to be rotated, obviously, and one probably is not going to be first choice. But you're going to need somebody else in there to certainly fill in.
In Ange Postecoglou's press conference, he's just come out and said, "I have some lofty ambitions for this football club. Until we reach that point, I'm not going to be smiling too much. As I said, all any manager wants is maximum effort, and I've got to get that from everyone involved. I've enjoyed it and looking forward to pushing on more." Ricky, let's come to you. In stoppage time at the end of the first half, Heung-min Son to Maddison, and the goalkeeper saved. Simply wanted to ask, the Euros, of course, start next month. Do you think that James Maddison will be on that plane to Germany with England?
I think it's a tough one, Chris. I think it's a tough one. Since he's been back from his injury, we've seen the Maddison that we know and love in flashes. We haven't really seen it consistently. So I think it's going to be tough, and especially with the emergence of Cole Palmer as well coming through. And I know he plays on the right, but it's all those attacking midfield positions, right? You know, where is Gareth Southgate going to play Bellingham? Is he going to play him as the number 10 behind Harry, where he was scoring a ton of goals at the beginning of the season for Real Madrid? Or are you going to chuck him in midfield alongside Declan Rice? So there's loads of permutations there. I think if he does go, because there is an increased squad number size, isn't there? So so if he does go, I think it might be good for him. Firstly, to keep his fitness and his sense of competition up, because he has missed a chunk of football. But I don't see him playing too often. Do you know what I mean? I see him probably coming off the bench a couple of times here and there. So I just think wholeheartedly it might be a good thing for Tottenham if he is there. Do you know what I mean? So I think that he'll be ready once the season starts again. So with increased squad numbers, I think that he could make it, but on his form so far, it's an easy one to omit, you know. And on Ange as well, just quickly, what a season he's had. Welcome to Tottenham. Welcome to this crazy club, this crazy ass team with crazy ass fans. And yeah, like he survived too, you know. It's been crazy. It's been absolutely nuts. He's had so many things to deal with. Not only the way that he started, not only with Harry Kane leaving, but with the injuries and that suspension and the 4 fullbacks and then the ACL and then international tournaments. And oh my gosh, the things that he's had to deal with, man. And, you know, all right, once it came down to the crunch in that crazy 2 weeks where we played all the top boys, we didn't rise to the challenge, but I think he's taken so much more away from those losses. And I think that he's going to be upset, and I think he's going to make sure that it goes right next year. I love to hear that he's got lofty ambitions. I love to hear that he's already talking about, again and consistently, building a side that goes out there to succeed, building a side that is there to win things. Do you know what I mean? So well done to Ange for a full season at Tottenham Hotspur.
Rich, let's come to you. I want to stay on the subject of James Maddison, because that was a big chance for Tottenham. You know, to go in at half-time 2-0 up, I felt that we would have put the game to bed. And perhaps the youngsters would have been given even longer game time in the second half. There's also a chance that we'll come on to, you know, Brennan Johnson's miss in the second half. These chances in Premier League games, you've got to score those chances, haven't you?
Yeah, for
big
sure.
chances.
Yeah, for sure. And also, our expectations of the players that we've got are that they take those chances. And that has been a little bit of a concern. I think they need to go away and work really hard. And I think Angie's going to drill the players and continues to drill them to be better personally, as well as better people, as better footballers, and making those better choices, but also being clinical, being like, when you've got that opportunity, you take it, because it has a massive impact. Against a better team, you go into the half time and they regroup and come out, and they come out better. It could be a different game. I think Maddison, for me, might miss out for the Euros, which might not be a bad thing. Might not be a bad thing to have that recovery time, rather than just be bench warming for the whole tournament. I see other midfield players that will probably take that position in front of him, especially because his form's dipped and he's not had a massive impact on the England team when he's actually come on. So I think he might miss out. Maddison, for me, next season is a big season for him to kind of come to the table and be a real leader. Obviously, Ange sees him as one of those players that he can rely on, unlock obviously opportunities, unlock defences through his play. Something that we've been crying out for, that James Maddison player to really kind of replace that Eriksen that we kind of missed for many seasons. He's not reached his potential now. I think injuries, like he said in recent interviews, that worst injury that he's ever had at Spurs, and that's obviously massively affected his form going into the last half a dozen games.
Rich, there was an instant where Sheffield United had a throw-in and Vicario pushed one of the Sheffield United players. Dragushin then got involved. I think Craig mentioned this earlier. What do you make of Vicario's performance today, and in particular when it comes to set pieces, when he's got players around him? Because I've got to say, these last couple of games, it's like he doesn't want to seem to be taking any crap from the opposition now.
No, that's right, and that's what you want. You want that dominant keeper, and dominant as in the attitude, as in the performance, and having players around him that can really kind of back him up is really important. So strong central defensive positions that can really kind of make sure that Vicario's got that room to move into the ball, to catch it or to dominate, which is really important. I think for me, it's, if you've noticed over the last couple of games, his movement towards the ball is more of a positive movement, where I've seen before that he's been taking those backward steps, which is in some cases you've seen him actually in the net. So one of his feet has been behind the line as he's been trying to save or as he's been trying to parry the ball. So I think it's more of a positive step from himself and his team moving forwards. And that's what we need. We need that solid spine of the team, and he's definitely part of that.
Craig, let's come on to you. After 59 minutes, of course, Spurs got the second goal, Pedro Porro, with an absolute belter. But great work from Heung-min Son in the build-up. Johnson got the assist. There seems to be there was certainly a couple of blocks in there as well. But as I said, Pedro Porro with a great finish again. Craig, you're on mute now.
Sorry.
We've all done it.
We've all done it. A fantastic strike by Porro again. I mean, I'd love to know how fast that went. I'm sure that will be on Sky at some point to say how fast he hit that, because the keeper just sort of went and collapsed afterwards because he didn't even have time to react. It was just sensational. I agree with Rich. He has had his fair few shots, but I just want to see our never thought I'd say this, but I'd love to see our strikers having more shots than our right back. It's bizarre situation to be in. But yeah, you're going to look for that more next season from him, getting forward and having. He obviously loves that part of the game, and he's very adept. He put in a cracking cross in the first half as well. He had a real solid game today, Porro. Very creative player. He's now settled into the club completely. I just think he's I wouldn't say he's been pushing Van der Ven for player of the season, but he's been pretty reliable. One of the better players, I would say, in the top three this season. He tends to make the goalkeeper work when he has shots. He has blazed a few over, don't get me wrong, but from that distance, he's one of the better strikers of the ball at the club, I have to say. I just wish our strikers could hit a ball like him and have a few more shots themselves, because yeah, although they did today. We had a lot of shots today, but that's kind of, that's the opposition you're up against, and you can see why they are where they are. So yeah, I do like Porro. Really solid player.
Craig, let's stay with you. After 64 minutes, a good move. Maddison to Heung-min Son. Son shot from an acute angle, and the goalkeeper saved it. A minute later, Maddison crossed to Kulusevski, making it 3-0. That's the sort of positions I want to see James Maddison getting into, and I thought it was a fantastic assist for Kulusevski to make it 3-0. What did you make of Maddison's performance, and what have you made of him overall? Because, as Richard said, when we signed Maddison in the summer, I thought fantastic. We've finally got someone who can hit a free kick, but we haven't seen one this season, which I'm really surprised about.
It is, but how many free kicks have we actually had around the edge of the area where we can have a pop? That's the thing.
In fairness, I think that we've had a lot of free kicks this season late on in the game where Maddison's actually gone off. We had one today, and Højbjerg ended up taking it, which he blasted into the wall.
Yeah, that was just weird. seeing Højbjerg over there. Perhaps he wanted to sign off with a goal, who knows? Or perhaps he's banged a couple in the top bins in training, who knows? That was a weird one. But yeah, no, Maddison, I was really excited. I thought it was a sign in the summer, to be honest, for 40 million Maddison and then sending Harry Winks the other way. I thought it was a fantastic bit of business. It was quite clear to me he hasn't been the same player since his injury. It was the longest injury of his career, and it's taken him time to get back to his best. I only think now we're starting to see it in the last few games, the Maddison that we know. I still don't think he's at the level he was in August, September. But for me, I hope he goes to the Euros. I think, like Ricky said, if the squad's a bit bigger there, it might not be a straight choice between Cole Palmer and Maddison. Grealish hasn't been playing as many minutes as he would like at City, so it might be him that misses out. Who knows? I think Maddison's coming back to his best. Like you're right, it was a good assist, a great assist, and I want to see him in those forward positions. I don't want to see him getting the ball off the back four and playing passes through the middle. Let somebody else do that. Let the holding midfielders do that. So getting him up front, laying balls through to Sonny and whoever's up front is where I want to see Maddison. That's where he's most dangerous, and that's where he does a lot of his good stuff and goes about his business better, I think, in my opinion. But yeah, I'd love to see him banging a free kick from about 20 yards, to be honest, because getting him from Leicester, I'm sure he scored a few at Leicester, and really excited that we had a set piece specialist, if you like. But like you say, we haven't seen it, have we? But the chance is typical when he's off the pitch, we get a free kick. It's always the way, isn't it? But yeah, I think he's getting back to his best, Chris. So fingers crossed he'll stay fit, go to the Euros, have a solid Euros, and come back full of confidence, ready for the new season.
You know what's really nice? What I was trying to say about Maddison going, the fact that he would be amongst the top boys. Do you know what I mean? All of these world-class talented boys around him. I think his ego and his cheeky chappiness believes that he should be a part of that company. So him going and being a part of that company and then being on the world stage, I know it's the Euros, but the world will be watching. If and when he gets an opportunity, I think his ego and his eagerness to kind of show that he is he does belong amongst the best, and that he can affect a game, and he can kind of come away with English Euro glory. I think that if he gets an opportunity and he's amongst that squad, that is a good thing for him, because he has to step up. Nice one. But he has to step up, and I think that will serve us, because he's had, like you say, Neil, he's had his longest injury and he missed a chunk of football. And at that point he was flying. He was considered the man. He was challenging, challenging for that number 10 role for England. So he was the name on everybody's lips, every pundit, everywhere. And yes, he has fallen off, and it's taken him a while to get back to where he is. But if he is a part of it, because of the increased squad numbers, I think it will do him the world of good, because he's got that mentality where he will want to rise to the occasion, and he will want to, affect the game, or at least leave something on the game where he was a part of it, whether that's a goal or an assist. So I think that it'll be positive for him to go.
Ricky, let's stay with you. After 66 minutes, and Postecoglou made a sub, Højbjerg coming on, Sarr going off. 10 minutes later, Pedro Porro and Bentancur, they both went off. Emerson and Skip came on. Now, within that 10-minute spell of those three subs coming on, Højbjerg, Royal and Skip, do you expect any one of them to be at the club next season?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think Skippy's in with a chance because of his homegrown and the squad issues and being in Europe and all of those kind of admin reasons. But I think it's probably, the last we see of Højbjerg and Royal. And you know what? If it is, listen, thank you for what you done. When Højbjerg came, we didn't have a midfield. We was getting run through the midfield like nobody's business. And he came in and he done 3-4 different positions. Do you know what I mean? He done 3-4 different jobs for the team when the team wasn't stepping up. You know, ever reliable, ever up for the fight. Yes, there's been some wayward passes. Yes, there's been some wayward shots, but there have been some special moments as well that have come from Højbjerg. Højbjerg has saved us a couple of times, whether that's a crunching challenge, whether that's some of the dark arts where, you know, suddenly his boots come off and he needs to tie his laces or something like that, or whether he's got a screamer of a goal in him. You know, there have been some really kind of positive things, and I appreciate what he brought to the club, and I appreciate him being there. But there's a time to say goodbye, you know, and say thank you and good luck, and maybe that's Højbjerg's time. And it's the same with Royale. You know, Royale didn't have the best of starts. I remember him paying £1 million for extra training or a hyperbolic chamber. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what it was, but I remember him paying £1 million to improve himself and to kind of you know, be better for the team. So he's got a lot of hard work in him. He is a good teammate. But again, so thank you for what you brought. Thank you for being a centre back when we had no centre backs. Thank you for stepping up when, you know, when you've just come back from injury. He done it many a time when we had nobody over there over the time that he's been here. And he's had some special times as well. He's had a couple of nice goals. He's had a couple of great kind of Brazilian shimmies and tricks and twists and turns that he puts into a compilation. So thank you, Royale. But like, again, good luck. So that's probably the last time, but you never know with Tottenham, but probably the last time that we're going to see him in a Tottenham shirt. So thank you, guys. Thank you for what you brought. But like, good luck at your next club and good luck in your future endeavours.
Rich, let's come to you. Shortly after the subs came on, there was the incident where Brooks was given the red card from the referee. Then it went to VAR, and then the red card was taken away. Talk me through the incident, because when we were in the stadium, everyone really didn't know what the hell was going on. You've suddenly gone from a red card to absolutely nothing.
Give him a bit of a punch, isn't he? Give him a bit of a punch, I think. I don't know what the VAR was seeing that I didn't see. I think it was, violent conduct, surely. Red card. And then obviously, I think the white flags were out then, weren't they? The white flags were out, and it was like, just keep him on the pitch. I think it was the referee had gone, let's overturn it. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with VAR. I know there's a lot of conversation about, are we going to keep it or not? Or I think there's a lot of kind of interpretation problems with kind of the VAR people being like the second ref, etc. But I think it wrongly intervened there. I think that should have stood, to be honest. I think the referee called it from the start. I think he saw it in real time and it should have stood.
Rich, talking about VAR, if you as a fan were given a vote to keep it or scrap it, what would you do?
In its general, I think it's in its general form now. I think it just doesn't work. I think it's not clear. I think even from the start of the season, do you know how it's like? There were so many decisions that were like really kind of, is it on? Is it off? Is it like as the ball's being kicked, or is it like as the ball's moving? And the lines are all over the place. The cameras are in the wrong. There needs to be some more clarity and some more education about kind of the dynamics of the pitch and how that's broken up with these cameras and how these lines are drawn, which would give the fans a little bit more confidence in. Because sometimes you're looking at the lines and you're going, well, that's clearly onside and it's not. I think scrapping VAR like now probably just wouldn't happen. I don't think it would happen scrapping. I think there's going to be some. They've enforced the technology, and now they need to work. It's like the prototype. This is a prototype VAR, and I think that they need to that needs to get better. I think having like the head of refereeing on Sky Sports, like going through every decision is just ridiculous. I think that's like, and then some of the things that he said, I've gone, that's absolute BS. Do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, you need to have a little bit of integrity. That was offside. That's onside. Like, where's it? The margins are like millimeters as well, which is ridiculous. It's and the older referees are kind of coming out saying that they're actually managing the game, and the referees are just not doing anything. So for me, I think it's going to stay, but there needs to be more education and clarity around the technology and what kind of like flexibility that's got, if any. If they're saying there's no flexibility, there's the line, you're on offside, then that's not really going to work. There needs to be because there's always some like human error, isn't there, in everything. And VAR is making that even worse at the moment because you've got people in a room hundreds of miles away still making the mistake that the referee's not seen either. So I'm going, maybe what they should do is they should have like interactive, like as a fan, you're watching it at home, you're going, it's onside, it's onside, it's onside. Create all these votes, and then they go, actually, 6 million people say it's onside. It's offside. It's onside.
It's not dancing on ice, Rich.
Well, yeah, I was gonna make a reference to that later on when we sum up the season about Ricky's performance on the ice.
That was my best moment of the season. Yeah, going to see Ricky on Dancing on Ice. That's it.
You didn't fancy getting on the ice with him then?
Absolutely not. Well, I wasn't invited. That's what I'll say. We'll get there, won't we, Ricky? One day. Craig, let's come to you. After 80 minutes, Sheffield United had another chance. They shot wide. A couple of minutes later, Heung-min Son, fantastic work from him, laid it on a plate to Brennan Johnson. And the last thing I want to do is create any hate for Brennan Johnson, but you've got to be finishing a chance like that in a Premier League game. Do you think that Ange Postecoglou will improve Brennan Johnson's finishing for next season?
That's difficult to say, but I think he has to. If he he wants goals out of his wingers, so he's going to have to work on that. Do some serious work on that with him. I quite like that lad, to be honest with you. I think he's got real potential. His pace. I love players with pace, as you know. So I think he's going to have to work with him. What's that saying? I didn't see that. He's. Would he be first choice for me? That's really interesting. As I said before, I think on the podcast Wednesday or Tuesday. I'm losing track of days. Tuesday, wasn't it? I'm not sure they expected him to get as much game time as he's got this season. I think they was probably going to bleed him in a bit earlier, perhaps during cup runs, and just gradually introduce him. But he's been thrown into the spotlight when perhaps they didn't think he was ready. But £50 million player, that's a lot of money for a player who's, do you know what I mean? It's a lot of money. Just going back to VAR, I thought Gary Lineker had a really good suggestion. The captain or the players or the manager, whoever it is, get three challenges, during a game. A bit like you do in tennis, they get to challenge calls, and that's it. Because I don't think they're going to get rid of it. Obviously, most of us watching this remember the good old. Well, I would imagine all of us actually remember what football was like before VAR. For me, it's just more fun without it. It kills the celebrating scoring a goal. That's the thing. If they could do it instantly like that, absolutely instantly, I wouldn't have a problem with it, because I love technology. I think goal line technology has been flawless. It's been seamless. It was brought in, you don't even know it's there, and you know it's correct. For me, it just takes too long, as everybody said before. But it needs to be almost instant. This semi-automated offside, I don't know if that's going to make it quicker. I would like to think it does. But it just amazes me with technology nowadays that players haven't got a chip in the back of their shirt or in their boot or something. And if when the ball's kicked, if there's chips in front of another chip, no matter where on the player it is, it's just that's how it is. That's how it works. So for me, it's a good idea. But if I had a choice, I'd get rid of it. I have to say, I would just scrap it until the technology's there to make it seamless and instant, because it's killing the game.
Ricky, I want to ask you about that Brennan Johnson miss, because I did really feel for him, because that was right in front of the away end, and you could tell by the agony, the look on his face, that he just thought, "Oh my God, how have I missed that?" How confident are you that Ange will get the best out of Brennan Johnson? Because we can see there's talent there, and we can see that he can finish, but there has been a number of opportunities for him this season, and he don't seem to have grabbed them you know, which probably we would have expected.
Yeah, I mean, Brennan Johnson, like Craig was saying there, you can see he does have, you know, pace. He does have work rate. He is up for the fight. He's had a bumpy season himself. You know, I think the price tag, it was a lot of money for Brennan Johnson. You know, for somebody that was not really on my radar going into the transfer window, to be like, oh yeah, I would like Brennan Johnson as a signing. He wasn't on my radar at the time. So to come in and to have that price tag and then to kind of have the performances that he's had this season, it's been tough. He has had to bed in. But there have been times when, especially when he started, that I think like the Chelsea game, you know, he kept doing like one move where he tried to knock it past Cucurella and then try and run around him, and he kept doing the same move and kept getting caught out. And I kind of go, that's a bit naive. He's had many a chances, not just today, where it's been almost on a plate and just somehow, some way, it's gone the other way. Do you know what I mean? Or it's ricocheted somewhere else. It's gonna hurt him, but I think that under Ange, you know, I think he's gonna use that as a motivation. You know, negative motivation. There were times when you mentioned during Dancing on Ice. There were times when I was doing a training and there would be days where I just couldn't get the move. Like it was very simple. Everything that they was asking me to do was simple. I have a dance background, you know what I mean? So you're asking me to do something. It doesn't normally take me that long to kind of get what you're asking me to do. But I'm trying it, and it's not working, And I would be a little bit down on myself, and I'd be a bit like in a funk on the way home. But by the time I got home, I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn this negativity into motivation and turn it into positivity. Fingers crossed. I'm going to look at what I've done today. I'm going to look at the mistakes that I made today. And my aim is to make tomorrow better and to go in there and to try and get this done tomorrow. And so in the same instance of that, I think Brennan can do the same. You know, use these things that have not gone his way and use them as motivation to go, you know what, I was there. You know what, I can do this. You know what, I do deserve to be here. Jumping from a club like Nottingham Forest, with all due respect, coming to Tottenham at where we are and how big the stadium is and fans and what's kind of expected and what's demanded, it's a massive jump for him. He done really well when he came off the bench. I felt earlier on in the season, he affected the game and he was very, very dangerous. And we can almost see what he can bring to the table when he had his first game, Chris. I can't remember who it was against. He scored a goal, but it ended up being offside. It ended up being chalked off. But it was almost like an over-the-top. He controlled it like with one touch, and then on the half volley, he smashed it in, and it was a beauty of a goal. It was ruled out. But I think if he would have scored that, I think his confidence would have been high and he would have been able to start to build on it. But because that it started a bit kind of rocky, I think that's where his roller coaster of a season's gone. You know, where he's been in form and then he's been totally out of form. And as a young player, those things are going to happen. And I think Ange and the team and the coaching staff around him will galvanize. And we'll use this negativity and we'll pick it out and go, look, this doesn't mean that you're rubbish. It doesn't mean that you can't do these things. It just means that we got to do these things better. And this is how we're going to do it. And they'll formulate a plan. And not only Ange, but the team will start to kind of give him confidence. But it's always down to you as the person. Nobody can force you, anyone listening, watching, guys on the panel, nobody can force you to do anything that you don't want to do. It's got to be from you. You've got to have enough of going, you know what, I'm fed up. I'm fed up of not doing A, B, or C. You know, I'm done now. I'm over it. Let's go. And if you can use that with the team around him, have that within himself, plus the team, plus the coaching staff, then who knows where Brennan Johnson can go. Just remember how Gareth Bale started. Just remember how a lot of players started at Tottenham, where it didn't go too well, but then suddenly a spark was lit and they were a different player. So my fingers are crossed that the coaching staff, the data team, the scouts that brought him in, you know, they brought him in for a reason. And we haven't seen the best of Brennan yet, which could be really exciting. So let's hope for that. Let's hope for that reaction. Let's hope that we see that next season.
I think also when you look at Johnson, you see he works better in those tandem, those partnerships where he's got somebody quick on the other side as well. So when I'm not a massive Werner fan, but when Werner and Johnson was playing together, he'd have that. He'd know that Werner's going to run down the flank. He's going to beat a man. He's going to pull it across, and he's going to be on the back post to slide in and get the goal. That was kind of that move for about 4 or 5 weeks, where they're always looking for that. So I think he works in partnership with other players really well, because obviously Werner'd been injured and loss of form, but then obviously the partnerships on the other flank weren't that kind of play. It taken something away from Johnson's play on the field of play. Watching the other week as well, I felt that some of the players weren't delivering the ball to Johnson in some good areas. Johnson got lots of like one-on-ones that weren't taken advantage of against Burnley. It didn't get a lot of ball in that game at all. And I think to get the best out of Johnson, it is, again, confidence, that mentality, give him the ball, give him that run on that fullback, and let him kind of showcase why we've paid that money, what kind of player he is and what kind of player he can become. And just said that obviously he wanted this season for him to come off the bench and have that impact. I think that's where he's been best this season. If you look across the whole season, I think when he started, after about 60 minutes, the tank's really empty, and then he's had to come off because he's ran his socks off, but he's actually got no ball. And I think for me, he is a great impact player. Maybe we'll use him as an impact player next season with somebody else in that position. But he's very talented, very quick. I think he needs to work on his finishing, but he definitely will be an acquisition for the side if we can get the best out of him.
Rich, let's stay with you, because 5 minutes from time, Kulusevski and Skip, they both had shots, but they were both blocked. 3 minutes later, Heung-min Son and James Maddison went off. Scarlett and Mikey Moore coming on. Now, Mikey Moore made his debut in the Premier League the other night against City, aged just 16. I tell you what an experience it must be for him. You know, playing against City on your home debut in the Premier League, then getting some minutes right at the end of today's game. It looks like he will be off to Australia as well, because the players have flown straight after today's game to Melbourne. For a 16-year-old, Rich, that must be incredible.
And also listen to his interview after that game as well. How mature he is as a 16-year-old is really important. And again, you can kind of see why he was given that opportunity, not just to get on the pitch. And he openly said, "Oh, I think I touched the ball once or twice." And I think for him, just to get in the field of play and just to kind of tick off, he's part of the squad now. I think that's really important for young players to see that it's possible, to see and believe there's that opportunity to get from that under-21 squad into the first team. I know from the training ground, from the changing rooms, you can see the first team changing rooms from the other squads, and it's great to aspire to be that. But having the players come through the academy is really important, and that was something that probably the start of the season, I was going, wait a minute, where are our academy players? Where are they? Are they getting any minutes? Are they being promoted into the first team? But I think that started to organically happen now, and obviously the under-21s have done so well to last week or so within their league, and I think they need to be rewarded and really kind of supported, coached, and mentored by some of the other players into the first team, because for them it's life-changing. It's a great opportunity, but also there's some really talented young boys within that under-21s that need nurturing into getting more first-team experience.
Absolutely, and well said. The under-18s this season finished 4th in the table. The under-21s won Premier League 2, but they are now in the Premier League 2 playoff final. They won the semi-final earlier today at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Lancashire and John beating Chelsea 2-1 with them with the goals. Sunset Bell, Lancashire and Donnelly have all been shortlisted for the Premier League 2 Player of the Season. And of course, the under-21s also got to the Premier League. Lost the other night away at Fulham. And the Tottenham Hotspur women this season finished 6th in the WSL. Of course, they got to an FA Cup final, the first final in the FA Cup in their history. Craig, got to go soon because you've got a takeaway coming. So let's get your player of the season.
I'll take that.
Player of the season.
Yes.
Your best moment of the season, your worst moment of the season, and the rating out of 10.
Okay, player of the season's easy as Mickey van der Ven. Moment of the season is difficult. I personally think actually hiring Ange Postecoglou was my moment of the season because we were really down with the Conte thing and the way the club was this time last year. It's all been doom and gloom the last few weeks. I get that, but it's kind of finished on a high. I can see where we're going. I can see it's a plan. So for me, that's the moment of the season. I don't think there's anything that stands out other than that. The worst moment of the season for me was the Chelsea game as a whole. I think that's when things started to go wrong. And what was the final question? Mark out of 10, Chris, was it? Yeah. I think I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Possibly 7.5. I don't want to be too generous because I want room to build on it. So 7 out of 10 for me. I'm reasonably happy where we are and where we finished. It's progression. You can see it's progression. So yeah, hopefully a big summer and a big challenge next year to win us some trophies.
Well, Craig, let me just say to you a big heartfelt thank you very much for all of your hard work and all of your input during this season. I'll tell you what, I just want to also say thank you to everybody. And there are a lot of people that come up to me today at Bramall Lane stating how they love you as the guest. They love, the stuff that we do on this podcast and on this channel. So, it was really nice to get so many positive comments and feedback today. So thank you so much for all of that. But Craig, thanks so much for coming back, and we look forward to having you on again very, very soon. Of course, we'll still be doing shows throughout the summer. Enjoy your takeaway, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the comments as well. It is really nice. You get the odd nasty one, but like you just let it wash over you. You know what I mean? It is what it is. The internet's not a real place, is it? But it's really lovely to have all the nice comments from people. We're all Tottenham fans. I'm just a fan, we're nothing special. We're just four fellas, and it's really nice community we've got here in the guests and the people we have on. It's a privilege to call you all friends. I know I would call you all that now. So it's been really good. It really has. And thanks to everybody that watches, because it really does mean the world when you get people agreeing with you, even disagreeing with you, even if they keep it polite. It's nice. It's really good. It really is good. And thanks for having me on, Chris. Always love coming on. Thank you very much. And I'll see you all again soon. No worries.
Enjoy your takeaway. Ricky, let's come to you.
I will. See you later. Ta-da.
Ricky, your player of the season, I've got to say, I think this is a pretty easy one for me. I'm going to go with Mickey van der Ven. I think he's been incredible all year. But your player of the season, your moment of the season, the worst moment of the season, and the rating out of 10 for the season for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Romero has been outstanding all season. You got to think about his season as well, and the way that he started, and he's getting a couple of yellows here and there, and people are like, he's a liability. And I said at that time, he's not that guy. He's not that player. And look at the resurgence as well. He rushed back from injury when we bought Dragusin. He wanted to play. He wanted to lead. He's hardly got a yellow card since. And I think that he's really led by example. I'm gonna have to side with you and Craig so far though, and say Mickey van der Ven has got to be the player of the season, because I just think he's just been outstanding. And thank goodness Romero now has a partner, a true partner. Not only in him, but you can see in Dragusin as well. But definitely him and Mickey van der Ven, they've been a fantastic partnership. So I'm with you, gents, where I'm like, player of the season, I think it's gonna have to be Mickey van der Ven. how he came from, a season in Germany, season in the Dutch league, and then into the Premier League, duck to water. He's been ever present ever since he put on that shirt. He's been fantastic, settled into the side so well, ever reliable. Even with a hamstring injury, he comes back and it's like he never left. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I think a shout goes out to Vicario as well. Goalkeeping in the Premier League is a really tough thing to do. We have seen many a goalkeeper come in from a different league and take a while to settle in or just not survive at all. So, the fact that Vic's come in, done so well, been commanding, been, aggressive, look to learn from all of his mistakes during the season. A big shout out goes out to Vicario, and I think that there's, great things to come from him as well. But Mickey van der Ven's the one. Okay, moment of the season. For me, the moment, the most positive moment of the season, I think I'm going to have to wrap up in those first 10 games. Just from where we came from to start the new season with a new manager, that some doubted, and I was one of them when he came in. I wanted Pochettino, as everybody knows, to come back in and to take over. But so from where he came from, with the little bits of doubt that surrounded him as well, Harry Kane leaving on the eve of the Premier League beginning, having quite a positive summer when it came down to signings. But those first 10 games when everything came together, where, Maddison was at his best, when he was a world beater and Sonny was playing, he was outside. Everybody was playing the Ange way and everybody bought into it. And to see how quickly things changed from where they were and from where we was going, those first 10 games were phenomenal for me. And I think that would probably be my best moment of the season, even though I've cheated a little bit. Worst moment of the season, okay, so Craig went Chelsea game, and that was a sliding doors moment. But for me, I'm gonna say from the Newcastle game, and I'll tell you why I say that. After Fulham, after we lost to Fulham, there was enough games at that point to learn from the mistakes that we kept repeating, and also to play the way that we know we should play to get results. And I gave them that Fulham game. I said, all right, fine. You've made your mistake. You've done your hiccup now. It's all about going into this next really important period of games where it's crunch time again, to get over a line, to go and achieve Champions League without doing a favour for anybody, off our own backs. And we went up to Newcastle and we lost that game, and I was just like, oh, okay. I can almost feel it. I can feel it kind of just dropping at that point and kind of like losing grip or on that top four space. So for me, it was also Chelsea. I think Chelsea was definitely the biggest sliding doors moment, for positive and for negative. For positive to go, this is the way that we're going to be, regardless. We're going to go for it. We're going to challenge with 9 men. We're going to attack you. We're not going to defend. We're not going to do, park the bus. We're going to go for you. I think on a positive aspect, Chelsea, was definitely a sliding doors moment, but there was a lot of negatives that come out of that too. Was that everything, Chris, or was there one more?
A rating out of 10 for the season.
Rating out of 10 for the season, I'm going to go for the 7.5. I'll go for the 7.5 out of 10, especially from where we was to where we're going. It's a good middle ground with loads of improvement that we know we need to do. So overall, a good season. Finishing 5th from where we was last year, I think it's fantastic. So, all right, it's where we deserve to be. I'm going to give them a 7.5.
Do you know, Ricky, it's no wonder why me and you get on so well, because all of your answers are pretty much identical to mine.
We're here, bro. We're here. Oh, look at Rich. He's going to sleep already.
Richard, do you agree with me and Ricky, or are you going to be different?
Is that you, Chris?
What?
Angry kid in the back of the taxi.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody just sent me, said, "Is Chris on the angry kid off the cartoon?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I even forgot what that was."
I'm smiling today. I'm not angry today. I'm smiling.
Yeah, going back to your question, I think for me the season is around the number 4. So winning against Villa away 4-0, great result. Winning at home against Newcastle 4-0, and then the worst one, obviously Chelsea 4-1. For me, that, and being in New York, Flannery's, New York Spurs, going in there, obviously scoring the first goal, having then a goal disallowed, and then kind of going through that. Yeah, and then having to run the New York Marathon.
Wow.
after that result. But this season has been like really frustrating because we've seen some glimpses of like why we really love Spurs, the flair, excitement, the passion, the fans in the stadium's been electric at some points, singing the songs for the players, the noise, the volume, the atmosphere at the end being the disco. I think for me, the player of the season, I think you've got to go Van de Ven, but yeah, Romero obviously very close for me. I think leadership drastically changes style of play from last year around that controlled aggression. More of a threat in front of goal. He's not maybe taking those chances, but more of a threat. I think hopefully we get more of that next season. And obviously having that new manager, having him for the whole season, having the confidence that he's going to improve the squad. You can see where he's going to improve the squad. I still think we need to have maybe a plan B in certain avenues, especially away from home. Maybe if we're holding on to a lead going into that last 5 minutes, maybe injury time, we need to have that kind of let's get obviously everybody behind the ball and hold that kind of hold for the result, because we've had a couple of games where we've kind of thrown it away this year. But overall, I would say, again, when last year, I think I gave it a 6 last year, I think, Chris, for the season, and finishing 8th. I think we're obviously a lot more progress, lot better football, lot more confident in the future. So yeah, probably 7.5.
Last couple of subjects. Ricky, let's start with you on the transfer window, because of course we are expecting a big and busy transfer window again at Spurs, and of course Fabrizio Romano has stated this as well. A number of players that could possibly go out the door. A number of reports have been published in the last couple of days from various outlets. Emerson Royale, Brian Hill, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Lo Celso, Richarlison, Sessegnon. And then, of course, we've got the players all out on loan at the moment that are expected to go out the door again. Tonguion Ndombele, Joe Rodon, Sergio Reguilon, Jed Spence, Javad Tanganga. Do you think that Phillips will possibly go out on loan again? We've got Valise. Will he go out on loan again? That's expected. It's also been reported that players like Basuma, Ben Davis, Skip could be sold. And also wanted to get your opinion on Timo Werner, £15 million, keep or send back.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy summer, Chris. It's going to be a really busy summer. I mean, we know we're not going to get everybody off of that list, out of the club in that sense. Not everybody's going to get sold. But we're on a different mission now. We need the players that can do the job and that create the change that Ange wants to create. We've seen that. Obviously, Perisic had an injury, but we ended up letting him go in January. We let Dyer go. We've let Hugo Lloris go now. So there is things turning and shifting, and it's about kind of getting a lot of them sold so that the money comes in. But it's about change, mate. It's about change. I mean, if somebody like Richarlison goes, then we need another 2. I think we need to buy 2 strikers. Somebody like Jimenez and Guirassy two different types of strikers. One that can hold up the ball, one that likes to run in behind. Gives us option. I think we need another winger. You know, I think we need a fast, pacey, tricky, dynamic, and can bang a goal type of winger. Yeah, that can hopefully play on both sides. But you know, we need a proper guy in there that can do the damn job and create competition in there. We know we need a monster number 6. We need it, like Craig was saying there. We need at least another centre back to come in, so that there's 4 that are challenging for both spots. You know, there are going to be a lot of also Pedro Porro. So if Emerson Royal goes out the door and Jed Spence ends up taking up his option to stay out in Italy, then we need another right back. We already know we need another left back. So there is a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done. Not all of it's going to be done. But if we can get those positions that are key to the first team right now, then, you know, I think we'll be all right. Also, a positive kind of a positive silver lining almost is that all the reports that we have heard of not links but negotiations with players already, right? So there's talks. There's already talks going on. There are already talks about contract, and there's talks going on at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, nothing's confirmed. We haven't had a here we go from Fabrizio as yet, but there's that inquiry. That to me is a really positive thing to see, because especially with Tottenham, how many times have we in the past waited for opportunities or waited until those last 2 weeks to get opportunities type of players? Right now, we've got specific targets with specific attributes that the manager needs and wants, and that's what we're going for right now. And they've already started to make those moves. So we know there's a lot of business to be done, but they're already making moves, and I think they're going to get close to doing it. They're not going to do it all, but they're going to get close to doing it. Also, remember that, you know, Reguilon as well. That's another one out on loan that's got to come back, but can fetch a fee. You know, he's not a terrible player. He can bring in a fee. Jed Spencer's got the option. Millwall want Tanganga. Joe Rodon, you know, Leeds. He's done fantastic at Leeds, so Leeds probably want him. So we could probably get some money through the door for him as well. There are players, you know, Højbjerg. We can get a nice chunk of change for Højbjerg. I think there's a lot of teams out there that would love a Højbjerg in their side for what he brings to the side. So there's going to be lots of ins and outs, but it's going to be super exciting. What I would say is don't pin your hopes on any one sign-in, because we probably won't get that guy. And just believe in this, in the scouting, and believe in the direction that we've been going ever since, you know, especially Paratici came in. Romero, you know, Vicario, Van der Ven, perhaps Sarr, all these players that have come through the door, they've come through the door for a specific reason, and because they're bloody well good as well, and they can affect this first team. So believe in what they're doing. They're going to make the right choices, and they're going to get it over the line. And yeah, I think it's exciting times ahead.
You sound like you'd be a good salesman, Ricky, selling all our players like that. Rich, when I read out all those names out, it does still seem like there is such a big job to do still at the football club. I know Andrew said that it's going to take multiple windows. How confident are you that we're going to get business done early again? Because let's face it, all of us were very positive at the start of the season because business was done early, and we're not used to that as Tottenham Hotspur fans. You know, so we've got some real quality players in. When, you know, Andrew said this in press conferences, certainly in the last couple of weeks, multiple times, about Destiny Udogie, his first season in the Premier League, Vicario, Van der Ven, you know, Sarr, his first full season in the Premier League. There has been some real positives. I know a lot of people have felt quite down in the last couple of weeks, certainly, you know, losing 5 out of the last 7 in the Premier League. But, you know, you've got to take these positives into next season. But how are you, how confident do you feel that it will be another transfer window this summer like it was last summer?
Yeah, and I think the important thing is to do it early. We saw how that affected the start of the season. Obviously, went into the start of the season with some great continuity between that first 11. Some great relationships starting to build. Hence the reason why you could see the partnerships working. You could see that working on the field of play, which was fantastic to see. So definitely to do that early, which obviously, like you say, Ricky, I think that's already happening. So the players that will be told they can find pastures new, they already know that, and their agents will be looking for maybe other teams at the moment as we speak. So I think that's really important. I think it's like any team, any club, any brand, any industry. You're looking for the gaps that you're not filling. That I think with our team, we need to look at those gaps within the team, not just position wise, maybe mentality, maybe skill set that we're looking to add value to the team and add. I would say kind of having players that are maybe a little bit more experienced within the winning mentality that can add value. I think the Werner situation was quite interesting when that kind of happened, because obviously vast amount of experience in the Premier League as well as Champions League, scored lots of goals. It's not really worked out for Spurs in their goals at the moment. But I think it's a really interesting kind of avenue to go down, because it had an effect on other players in the team. Like I said earlier around Johnson, how him and Werner kind of that partnership kind of did work really well together. We need to look at the replacement for obviously Harry Kane, and whether we're going to get that kind of big marquee signing, maybe not, but we might have one or two players in that position that can rotate or add something slightly different that fit into the methodology of field of play that Andrew wants to deliver. But I think also we need to have somebody that can hold up that ball, that can take the pressure off the defence. I think that's been something that I've noticed really, that when we're under a lot of pressure and teams are coming on us consistently, we've not got that outlet. Sonny's not strong enough when he plays in the front of that three, and I think even Kulusevski, when he plays slightly different, so he kind of wants to drop deep and then run with the ball. So I think we still need to look for that position, but there's lots of areas to improve. We could see as busy summer as we did last year, which would be great as long as the quality comes in. And I always say that we need to have better players come in than we've already got. We need to have better players that add value, that basically could drop into that first 11 straight away, but the other players are having to fight for their positions. I think that's where it's really important for us as Spurs fans, is that we see that fight, we see that togetherness as a team, but we also see players fighting for their positions.
One of the viewers, Richard Evans, actually wrote a comment earlier that I put on screen, stating that the likes of Manchester United and Chelsea will, of course, be stronger next year because they will do a lot of work in the summer window. Newcastle as well, of course. Aston Villa, they're going to be playing Champions League football. No doubt they will invest. So it's going to be another difficult season. It's never it's never easy in the Premier League, is it? The last subject to cover.
Oh, you're cutting out, Chris.
Game left.
Are you back, Chris?
Yep, I'm back. Spurs,
right.
of course, do have one more game left. That is in Melbourne, Australia. Now, Ange Postecoglou was asked about this trip to Melbourne. This is what he had to say.
No, look, we discussed that earlier, and I think our situation is probably a little bit different from Newcastle, because they've had a European season, Champions League. It's been a big season. We haven't, and it's no secret. Part of this is yes, exposure, but also revenue for us. And I'm pretty certain, and I certainly wouldn't have allowed it to happen if we were in Europe this year and had a bigger game schedule. I probably would have said no to it. And I don't think the club would have expected us to go. So, if we're in Europe next year, I don't think you'll be seeing this happen. I don't think it's ideal, but I think each situation is unique. And for us, on the back of our season, I think to play one more game 2 days after the end of the season, I think is, there's substance to it for us. And we had a discussion with the playing group really early on about it, and they understood why we're doing it, and we all kind of made a commitment to go, and that's what's going to happen.
Ricky, let's come to you on this. Ange said there that if we had been playing European football, then they wouldn't have been going to Melbourne for this friendly against Newcastle United. It seems that Kieran Trippier and Eddie Howe, of course, captain and manager of Newcastle, are not very happy about this trip. Now, the players are literally flying to Melbourne now, straight after the Sheffield United game. The flight time will be around 22 hours. 4 or 5 hours later, after arriving in Melbourne, and Postecoglou has an event to attend between 12 noon and 2 p.m. Australian time, business lunch at the Olympic Room in MCG. And then around 10 hours after arriving in Australia, the Spurs squad will have an open training session. And then they will have the game the next day, and then they will fly back. The Spurs squad will actually be in Australia for less than 48 hours. What do you make of this game that Spurs will be playing on Wednesday?
It's mental. It's mental, but yeah, as Rich says, it's all about the money. Do you know what I mean? And especially, I think there's the 30th of June. Oh, I can't remember what the date is. I'm rubbish with dates. But there's a cut-off period where you can earn money for the summer or something like that. I don't know, but it falls right in there where we can actually use whatever we earn off of this, towards our transfer budget. So yes, it is a money-making thing, but you know what? I think it's going to be fantastic for all of those Australian fans out there that have adopted Spurs as their team, that have come with Ange and Jedinak and kind of embraced the Tottenham way. And as you know, Chris, you was on many a podcast and many a radio station over in Australia, and they've really kind of like got a warmth for us. They've got a love for us. So for us to be able to go out there, pretty close to the end of the season and to see the boys in the flesh, I think it's going to be really special for those Australian fans. And, I don't believe in any of that type of plastic fans, quote unquote plastic fans palaver. I don't believe in any of that. There's fans around the world that live and breathe Tottenham Hotspur, and they're not lucky enough to go to the stadium. They're not lucky enough to be in London town and have that London banter with the other London sides. Do you know what I mean? But they love Tottenham Hotspur too. They buy the shirts, you know what I mean? They wait up in 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning to try and watch a game, and they there's a lot of passion out there, as you saw firsthand from South Korea. There's a lot of passion out there in Australia too. So I think for the fans out there, it's going to be super special. And for Ange to be able to be out there, it's going to be a lot. Look, I mean, it's 16-hour flight time. You're there for 48 hours and then 16 hours back. It's a lot. It's a lot to take for any of those people that are going out there. And especially if you're looking to end the season, go on a little bit of a break before the Euros. Yes, it's a lot. But Ange made a fair point there. It's for Newcastle, who have had European football, it's even more than a lot. But this is what's happening. The powers that have put it on. It's happening. It's going ahead. And I think, let me look to the positive again and think about all of those Australian Spurs out there that are going to be able to see the boys in the flesh and celebrate with them. Celebrate this Europa League finish, to celebrate finishing on a high, celebrate those 3 points on the board, and to kind of get involved. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's going to be amazing for them out there. And whoever's lucky enough to be out there as well, whoever's traveling, about to jump on a plane somewhere and be able to be in that sunshine in 16 hours and kind of experience this, I think it's going to be super special, really special. So that's
where Chris is off. That's why Chris is off to his private jet, mate. I tell you, that's where it's going now in the taxi.
Well, this is it. But you know what? I've got to say something else as well. Last thing as well. I know I'll stop in a minute at some point. The comment that came in about everybody else being stronger, or they won't be as bad. Well, bro, we're not going to be as bad, and we're going to be stronger too. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to be as bad as we were at moments in this season. Next season, it's not happening, and Ange won't let it happen. Our squad's going to be better. We're going to be fitter. We're going to be more in tune, and we're going to be feeling the pain of the missed opportunities this season, And we're going to go into that next season determined, you know what I mean, with a mission to go out there for success and for glory from minute one, from second one. So we're going to be better too. To the guy that sent the message.
Also FFP. So Chelsea, they're gonna have to sell players. They're not. I feel that the players that they'll have at the moment, maybe they'll get more experience and they'll be more around the actual place they are at the moment. I don't think there'll be many acquisitions. I think they've got to sell, and I think teams like Man United, they've got stadium concerns. They've got waterfalls in their stadium. You know what I mean? It's like they've got bigger fish to fry. I think we're set up all right. We're set up now. It's the foundations are there. The training facility, the stadium, the new manager, new philosophy, new kind of base level players. Now we're going to build on those, and we're going to build on this fifth position. I think, again, like I said at the start of the show, the place where we finished this season, fifth, is a true reflection on where we are. And I think that's really important to understand that this is a true reflection. And the only way is to back the manager and then to continue the rise up the table.
Rich, regarding the game in Australia, how do you really think the players feel about it? Because Ange said there in the press conference on Friday that, you know, the players understand why the club are doing it, but how do you think they really feel? Because I know some people have had concerns about, you know, the season just finishing, but we've had 38 games in the Premier League, we've had one in the one in the League Cup, 2 in the FA Cup, so only 41 games all year, no Europe, and the Euros start in 26 days' time. So, but will there be one or two, you know, worried about injuries ahead of the Euros and the summer?
No, clear. I think the game itself is a real enrichment opportunity for those players to give something back to, obviously, and just community, the Australian community. Like Ricky was saying, everybody deserves to have that opportunity to watch the mighty Spurs and the rest of the Premier League. And you've seen what an impact a tour has with the likes of the Korean tours with Sonny, and you see at match day, how many Sonny shirts do you see on match day in the stadium? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Sonny shirts. And I think it's really important to understand the impact that the manager's had on his community and how well respected he is, obviously with the success he's had within Australia and beyond. And I think it's really important to have those opportunities of enrichment in Australia and beyond. And it's money making clearly, but also there's probably an underlying kind of thing around how do we get more Spurs fans, Spurs merchandise in this area, and really support the community that is really backing, obviously, Ange as well as the team now. I think it's an important opportunity. I think it will be more of a testimonial game, and I think from both sides of the pitch, from Newcastle and Spurs, I think it will be seen as that it's been a quite hard season, and players will understand that there's obviously European Championships in the summer as well.
Yeah, Spurs have only got the one game out there. Newcastle played 2, and you've also got Arsenal women out there as part of Global Football Week. Ricky, Richard, is there anything else that you'd like to say about this season before we go? Anything else that you would like to...
Subscribe. Everybody subscribe that hasn't. Support Chris. He's done a great job this year, and whether it's doing live shows outside the stadium, in bus shelters, in back of cars, Chris has always got the teams back, and it's memorable. Not always happy, sometimes sad, sometimes needs a hug. Yeah, if anybody sees Chris out and about between now and when he next goes away, please give Chris a big hug. Yourself, mothers, daughters, grandfathers, everything, give Chris a hug and subscribe because he needs the love. But no, Chris, well done. You've really kind of pushed the platform to another level, and because of that, you're getting the just reward. So yeah, well done, mate.
Thank you, Richard. Loads of comments are saying Chris is doing so well. He's being chauffeur driven now.
Levy's driving.
Levy's driving. That's it.
Well, Richard, thank you so much. You've been absolutely brilliant all season. Of course, we've spoken about your many trophies that you've won. But thank you so much for all of your input this season. You've been absolutely great. Craig, yourself and Ricky, I think are the people that come on this podcast the most. So, I talk to you guys the most. But, great input all season. And I thank you very much for that.
No, it's a pleasure, and it's a great opportunity to obviously talk directly to the fans and also kind of get the real points of view. And obviously we don't all agree, but it's about having that voice and having the opportunity to make that change. And we all have those links to the club, and whether it's emotional, whether it's kind of other ties, I think it's really important that we have the opportunity to share those. And as long as we come together on match day and really support the players moving forwards, I think that's what's really important. I think obviously that showed that in that Man City game where there was quite a lot of division within the crowd. But I think realistically, we want the team to move forward as a team. But obviously, circumstance was slightly different and a one-off circumstance. For me, you always want the team to win, but sometimes the circumstance of winning kind of has a negative impact on the whole structure of the team, and that's what I kind of saw from that week. But it's like I say, it's been a great honour. It's also kind of is showing me that we're getting more and more Spurs fans to kind of really engage with the team, and I think the more that Spurs fans engage with the team, get behind the team, support the team, be that 12th man on and off the pitch, really is important for the players, because that will obviously give the players more and more confidence moving forwards.
Absolutely. And I've just thought of another great moment, or my favourite moment of the season, is when all three of us was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and Sandro come along and we were all on the podcast together. That was a great moment.
That was awesome.
I can think of some great moments this season, and that one was certainly up there. And Ricky, me and you had quite a few drinks that day. It was a good day. I think that both of us needed that. But a massive thank you to you, because you come on this podcast literally every single week talking about Spurs, win, lose or draw. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. And as Craig said, it's a real honour to call you my friend as well. So thank you so much.
No, I love every time, man. Love every time. Thank you, man. Rich is right. You deserve a medal for home and away, for the amount of season in, season out, mate. You've gone through it all, so you definitely deserve a medal for, just keep going, bro, and keep believing. And every time that the circumstance punches us in the gut, you get back up and we go again. And that's what this will do to you. That's what Tottenham will do to you. That's what football does to you. As Rich was saying there, not all of us are going to agree on everything, but fundamentally, we all want the same thing, which is the best for Tottenham to do well, and the best for Tottenham, and for brighter days for Tottenham Hotspur. Do you know what I mean? So that we can all be smiling. But we're never going to agree on everything. Not every pundit agrees on everything. They hardly get all of their predictions right when they started the start of the season. They never get a prediction right. So, well, hardly ever. So, football will do that to you. It will be wrong many a time with our opinion, and we'll be right many a time with our opinion. But sometimes we'll agree and sometimes we won't agree. But what is great is to have a platform like this to share it amongst those that think and feel the same. You know what I mean? To be able to let that out with people that understand what you're saying or understand where you're coming from, rather than just bombarding my poor missus and, you know what I mean? And giving her and I'm there going, no, but babe, you don't understand. If he comes back here and he does this, and she's like, oh yeah, babe, and bless her, she's great, and she's, she is Tottenham now, through and through. She knows the team now. Do you know what I mean? But instead of like letting it out on the missus, it's great to kind of let it out and share it with not only you guys on the pod, but all the fans around the world. It always blows my mind when you put those figures down, Chris, that around the world people are listening to us talking about Tottenham and the highs and the lows and the discombobulated team that is Tottenham, sometimes. And I thank you, man, and I thank you all. And even for me on a personal note, and you know, it's been great for like mental health wise. Not every audition I'm going to get, not every opportunity I'm going to get. But what is always great personally for me is to be able to have this at the end of the week and kind of be on with my mates and talk about something that I love, which is Tottenham Hotspur. And again, big up to yourself as well, Chris, who done the video the other day on mental health and how football and mental health, or mental wealth, do you know what I mean? Can work hand in hand. So again, well done to you for that, and thank you for always having me on and letting me rant for 47 minutes at a time. And it's always a joy and it's always a pleasure. So I look forward to the next season, man, and I look forward to happy days and smiley faces.
Well, thank you to Craig, thank you Ricky, thank you Richard. Really enjoyed this podcast and really enjoyed all of your company this season. Thank you to all of the other guests as well throughout the year. We've had a lot of different guests on this season, and it's been really enjoyable. And I've really enjoyed recording a lot of these podcasts this season. And we didn't say that last season, I must say. Thank you so much to everybody who has tuned in this season as well. You know, as Ricky said, you know, the countries, the amount of people that watch these podcasts, listen to these podcasts, and we've been number one in various different charts this season. It's been incredible. So thank you so much. But I better dash because I am going to Melbourne. So I am going to get on the plane very soon. So I will see you out there. And look out for all of the content that we post in the next couple of days. So I'll see you there. Ricky, Richard, thank you so much. Thanks to Craig, and thank you, everyone. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.